And you know what? They've got to get much tougher. I'm going to go there in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to Springfield and I'm going to Aurora.
Another day, another humiliation for Kamala Harris. My apologies. I know you hate it when people mispronounce it. With a shock poll from the Teamsters Union, but then another embarrassing performance at the Black Writers Caucus or whatever, where you just got to see the video to see their faces and just see how much they clearly hate her. The question will be whether or not these journalists do their job and actually report on how insufferable she was, or if they just sit back and shill for her. Lots to talk about today. Make sure you lock in. If you haven't yet, subscribe or follow down below. It's immensely important so I can actually find you. It's getting more and more difficult leading up to the election. It's absolutely free to do. That's all I ask that you would do. We're getting close on the Tailgates for Trump cookbook, which will be emailed to everybody who signs up on the site. Just put your email address in, join the movement, then go to your email and confirm. You might have to check your spam folder. It's a hilarious cookbook that we're going to send out for free for people to download and print at home. Also, we'll have, I think, 500 special edition copies that will have 10 extra recipes and a signature and a personal thank you from me on the back page. I think we'll do 500. That's about as many as I can sign. So it's going to be kind of fun just to raise money for the site so that we can do some advertising, but the cookbook itself is free. So sign on up there. Breaking: the Teamsters Union with 1.3 million members makes a shocking 2024 election announcement, despite data showing their rank and file, in fact, back Trump nearly 2-1. You see this: Teamsters, one of the largest labor unions in the country, just released a poll that the overwhelming majority of their 1.2 million members support Trump, 58.5 to 32.5. That's effectively 2-1. It looks like they may endorse Trump any day now. They won't. They said they would not. They did the coward thing, and they chose not to issue a endorsement.
I'm going to say this. Whatever the critics out there, and they're very few in the leadership, whenever I get an opportunity to highlight the American worker, especially the Teamster worker, I'm going to take any and all venue. We asked both conventions respectively at the same time, and the Republican National Convention immediately responded to us, didn't try and edit any of our messages, and I was hopeful that the Democrats would do the same, but they didn't. I'm not upset about it, but I can tell you this: my rank and file members who have been lifelong Democrats are not happy about it.
And you can see there, obviously, 2-1. Trump supporters there. And the meltdown is absolutely hilarious. Now, again, I don't know how much these quote unquote endorsements mean. They generally come from like the top end of these union leaders who are often corrupt and often don't represent the actual rank and file of who work for them. I watched my dad's union screw him over and over and over again. To the point where many people that worked where he worked just stopped paying their union dues because it was a joke. So, I don't know. Some unions are probably good out there, but many of them are not. The teachers union would be a good example. The police union, also a good example of unions that are bad, that protect bad teachers and bad cops. But again, ultimately, this is an embarrassment for Kamala Harris. And what they did was they didn't actually endorse anybody. Here it is. The working class supports Donald Trump. Teamsters have endorsed every single Democrat presidential nominee since Bill Clinton. Kamala met with the Teamsters just 2 days ago. They decided not to endorse her after internal polling showed that 60% of their members wanted Trump. Brutal blow to Kamala. She's used to those. But you see, here's the Teamsters official account. Vice President Harris attends Teamsters rank and file roundtable. That was just 2 days ago. This was 3 hours ago. Teamsters released presidential endorsement polling data. Quote, for the past year, Teamsters Union has pledged to conduct the most inclusive, democratic, and transparent presidential endorsement process in history of our 121-year-old delegation. And this year they have said, we don't pick Kamala, which is, quite frankly, a de facto endorsement of Donald Trump, right? Biden, they said 44%, Trump 33%. So the Teamsters were, this is what's really interesting. The Teamsters were bigly for Biden. Bigly, okay? 44.3 to 36.3. Then once they brought in Kamala Harris, it dropped to 34 Harris to 60% Trump. Plus 6% quote unquote other, which some percentage of that is probably RFK. So hopefully that means Trump gets another point or two there. I mean, he's going to need every vote and then some. The mainstream media is having a meltdown. The White House is having a meltdown. Here's Demon Ginger Annie Doll or whatever, KJP, having a complete meltdown on camera about it.
The union also put out its internal polling that showed that there was a pretty wide margin of rank and file membership that supported former President Donald Trump. To what extent is that a referendum on the work of this administration?
Look, I'm not going to speak to their poll. I'm not going to speak to the rank and file. Look, it is. We're talking about a 2024.
Yeah, we're not.
Obviously,
if they endorsed you, you'd be like, well, of course, obviously, the working class man and woman, they love Kamala Harris for her middle class upbringing and checks notes opportunity economy. Meanwhile, Trump's out there last night talking about helping people out of predatory credit card debt, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. Kamala Harris says, I have this word salad for you. Would you like some word salad? Then look at CNN having a complete, by the way, here's the Teamsters full release, giggity. For the past year, the Teamsters Union has pledged to conduct the most inclusive, democratic, and transparent presidential endorsement process in our 121-year-old history. And today we're delivering on that promise to our members, said Teamsters General President Sean O'Brien. Our members are the union, and their voices and opinions must be the forefront of everything the Teamsters do. Our final decision around possible presidential endorsement will not be made lightly, but you can be sure it is driven directly by our, quote, diverse membership. The Teamsters have not yet endorsed any candidate for the United States president. The union's general executive board expects an announcement on Wednesday, which happened, and said, well, we're not endorsing anything. Even though you see very clearly in this last poll, Trump is up 58 to 31 over Harris, which is crazy because Biden was beating Harris 44 to 31 just 2 months ago. So I don't know what happened since then. Either the Teamsters just really hate Kamala Harris and her end fracking. That's why I have a hard time buying all this nonsense about, her winning Pennsylvania. It's wild to me. It's absolutely wild. CNN is completely shooketh.
We're breaking news. The Teamsters Union will not endorse either candidate in this year's presidential race.
I don't think that matters, by the way. Look, here's the reality. Sorry, my throat was kind of dry. I had to get a little sip. Trying to cut out caffeine. A lot of you have noticed that I've been breathing weird lately. Even some of you sent emails and were like, hey, dude, are you okay? That was actually me having anxiety, panic attacks. And I had basically, I was going to make a whole video about it, but it's kind of lame. But it's something I've dealt with since I was 20 years old or something like that. And it's generally linked to lifestyle. So if I go 2-3 weeks and I get a lot of good sleep and everything's fine, I'm not on a bender, everything's fine. Obviously over the past 2 weeks, I've been working a lot and, the anxiety has been kind of creeping up on me a little more than normal. So I'm making changes, lifestyle changes, making sure I'm done on time, and I'm going to cut out the extra streams unless they're really, really important. And I'm going to get back exercising again. So yeah, anyway, Here.
Unions, a critical part, of course, of President.
Oh, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, you know, just because they endorse somebody, you know, let's say you work for Kmart, right? Kmart, Walmart, or something like that. Walmart comes out and endorses a political candidate. You're there and you make $15 an hour. And you're going to vote how you're going to vote. An endorsement doesn't, you know what I mean? Oh, my boss endorsed this person. How many people inside the company are going to change their vote? Probably none.
Biden's winning coalition 4 years ago, but this year the Teamsters president spoke at the Republican National Convention, putting support in doubt. The union represents 1.6.
Unions were a critical component of President Biden's winning coalition back in 2020, and Democrats had hoped that once again, especially after the policies put forth by the Biden-Harris administration, that it would be an easy win for Vice President Harris. Now, She has secured the endorsements for most major union leaders, but this one was always outstanding. And around the time of the Republican National Convention, when Sean O'Brien
1.2 million people, no big deal. And then Kamala Harris immediately came out and put out like, oh, I'm confused. For the first time in 30 years, the Teamsters Union will not be endorsing a presidential candidate. They said they didn't have any, quote, majority support among their members for one or the other. I'm sorry, but doesn't 58% count as a majority? The members want Trump. The corrupt bosses want Kamala. So they split the baby. Look, that's fine. The corrupt bosses count for the same number of votes as the uncorrupt rank and file workers. So hopefully that'll incense them and they'll come out and they'll vote Trump. Now, what's also funny is Kamala had her little interview today with the Black Caucus writers. Remember the ones that were, extremely hostile towards Trump and very aggressive towards Trump? Well, it appears that they didn't like Kamala Harris either. Look at this. I keep telling you all about Kamala. Look for yourselves. Kamala, at the end of her interview with the National Association of Black Journalists, she couldn't get out of there fast enough. Kamala left frowning. She's a mean woman. I swear they were limited in their scope of questions. This is the problem. She's been let off the hook so much, you can't ask her anything substantive. And look at the journals' faces at the end. I think they know deeply that they're just corrupt. None of these three journos or anyone else is probably going to come out and call her a crotch. Look at her. Quick handshake. And doesn't even look at the crowd and runs. Literally runs. Now wait for their faces. Look at their faces. Look at them. They're like, this bitch. Right? That's exactly what they're saying. I'm telling you. Even this, look at her face here. Like, oh God. That's what that look is. I'm an expert in women rolling their eyes at me. I've been married for 20 years. This woman was like, yikers. Yikes. That's what that is. So, and she basically ran out of there. Absolutely love to see it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.